My name is Molly, and I'm turning 32 this year. I work as a salesperson at a certain company. My husband's name is Mike, and he was my high school classmate. This year marks our 10th wedding anniversary. We started dating in high school and continued our long-distance relationship even after going to college. However, our feelings for each other remained unchanged, and we got married right after graduation. Although we dated for a long time before getting married, we still love each other very much. Shortly after getting married, our eldest daughter, Kate, was born. She's turning 9 this year. Currently, I'm pregnant with our second child, and I'm excited about giving birth after a long time. However, unlike when I was pregnant with Kate, I've noticed significant changes in my health this time. And during work hours, I felt nauseous and got unusually sleepy, which I never experienced before. Maybe it's because I'm getting older and it's harder to recover from all the tiredness even after I sleep. Or maybe it's the stress from work and taking care of our child. I considered various possibilities, but when I used an over-the-counter pregnancy test, it confirmed I was pregnant. When I was pregnant with Kate, I had no noticeable changes in my health, to the extent that I was unaware of the pregnancy. Perhaps because I didn't experience it with my eldest daughter, the morning sickness feels even more intense now. Working for sales, I was struggling with the symptoms of morning sickness while trying to keep up with daily tasks. However, I thought it would affect my work if it continued this way, so I decided to take some days off after consulting my boss. When I discussed it with my husband, he seemed to remember clearly when Kate was born. Therefore, he seemed surprised and unsettled by the severity of my morning sickness this time around.
This time your morning sickness is really bad, huh? Well, it's best if you take a break from work for a while.
The morning sickness is far worse than when I was pregnant with Kate, and I'm not feeling well at all. I want to take a break until at least I get into a stable period and focus on my health and the baby's health. I had hoped that my health would improve once I took some days off. However, the morning sickness didn't subside at all. In fact, it seems to be getting worse day by day, and even staying at home didn't help at all. The symptoms are so severe that I can't manage household chores and spend most of the day in bed. Having taken the leave, I really want to at least manage the household tasks, but I can't move as I'd like to. Especially laundry, as the scent of the detergent makes me nauseous and I can't handle it properly. Initially, Mike seemed concerned about me. However, recently he seems to be getting frustrated with my condition. He might be thinking, since you're not working, at least handle the household chores, right? Unable to even manage household chores, I felt ashamed of myself, and I felt sorry for Mike, who was busy with work. Since then, Mike has completely changed, almost like a different person. We used to hug every morning before he left for work, but now he leaves silently. Mike's been swamped with work, often coming home late due to overtime. He handles tasks like document preparation, data entry, and phone calls at his job. Though overtime was always a given in his line of work, since I gave birth to Kate, he reduced it to spend some quality time with her. Being dual income earners, he wanted to reduce my burden and thus ensured that chores were evenly divided. Yet recently he's not being helped much, and overtime has been consistent. Me being on leave and the reduction in income probably pushed Mike to strive harder at work for our family. Perhaps he'd prefer if I handled all the household chores. While I understand his perspective, with my morning sickness I can't meet his expectations right now. One night I mustered up the courage to ask for his help. You've been working so hard lately, especially since I've taken the leave. Sorry.
Well, I have to earn more for the family, especially with the overtime.
I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I can't do much housework. The morning sickness is severe. The smell of the detergents and any meals make me nauseous.
Really?
So, can you please come home a bit earlier and help out with the chores? Once I feel better, I'll return to work. Upon hearing my plea, Mike's face clearly showed his displeasure.
Don't we have our own rules? I'm working hard, even with overtime, to support the family. So Molly, please, take care of the house.
I understand, but
you can't neglect household chores just because of your morning sickness.
Mike suddenly raised his voice. Please lower your voice. Kate might wake up.
You're being too easy on yourself, Molly. I'm also having a tough time working overtime nonstop. Even if your morning sickness is bad, please take care of the chores.
Okay, I understand. I was being too easy on myself. Mike had never shown this much emotion before. I kept thinking if Kate found out, it might hurt her feelings. I repeatedly apologized and tried to calm him down. However, no amount of my apologies seemed to pacify his anger. He went to our bedroom with a sullen face and disappeared. I had hoped to ask for his cooperation, even just a little, but I was disappointed that my husband wouldn't even listen to me. I felt it was unusual for my usually calm husband to show such intense anger. I think my husband might have some other concerns. With this thought in mind, I felt uneasy. The next morning, I was awakened by the sound of the front door opening. It seems my husband left to work earlier than usual. Maybe he didn't want to see me because of what happened last night. I was deeply hurt by my husband's sudden rejection. Sighing and sitting down, I noticed Kate had woken up and came down to the living room. Kate seemed uncomfortable and sat down next to me. "Mom, I heard the conversation between you and Dad last night." "Oh, you did?" Kate must have been shocked to hear how my husband acted. As I tried to comfort her, Kate looked at me sharply and said, "It's terrible that Dad wouldn't even listen. You are pregnant and suffering from morning sickness, and he was yelling, which is totally unlike him. It was scary." She then spread her arms out wide in a gesture of disbelief and sighed. "Mom, rest up. I'll help out with the chores. I'm sorry I haven't helped until now." From that morning, Kate started helping out proactively with household chores. Since she learned how to do chores from a young age, I can rely on her confidently. I was genuinely pleased to see how kind-hearted my daughter had become. Since that argument, the strained relationship with my husband continued. He now often leaves home early and returns late, with hardly any conversation between us. With the birth of our second child approaching, I started to feel anxious. Just when I thought our relationship was beyond repair, Kate shared some unexpected news. "Mom, something's wrong." One evening, as soon as Kate returned from school, she said this with a pale face. "Kate, what's wrong? Are you hurt?" She shook her head, gesturing no. "I'm not hurt, but I feel sick." "Sick? What happened?" Kate looked down, biting her lower lip, wondering if she should speak or not. "What happened? Calm down and tell me." Tears welled up in Kate's eyes as I spoke warmly to her. "On the way home from school, I saw Dad and Abby's mom kissing." "Really?" Abby is a good friend of Kate's. I knew it right away because they played together all the time and she comes to our house too. It seems that Kate witnessed the scene of an affair between her father and Abby's mother. Unable to control her emotions, she sobbed into my chest. "Oh my God, calm down, honey." To calm Kate down, I gently hugged her. My husband, who I thought was irreplaceable, became an object of hatred in an instant because of the affair. Unable to forgive my husband's infidelity, I vowed revenge. To do so, I had to gather thorough evidence of my husband's infidelity. In order to obtain evidence of my husband's infidelity, I began to investigate. I immediately searched the rooms while my husband was away. I was dismayed to find a large number of receipts that I had never seen before. My morning sickness was so bad that I couldn't clean up around much, so he thought he could do whatever he wanted. I was furious that I was being so disrespected like that. I took a closer look at the receipts and found that they were for very expensive brand-named bags and accommodation. I looked at the receipts and wondered whose money paid for these expensive purchases. I gasped and remembered something. With a burning desire to confirm the truth, despite being pregnant, I managed to make my way to the bank. Upon reflection, I realized it had been a long time since I left the house, and it was rare for me to go out like this. Due to morning sickness, I wasn't feeling well, and the sunlight beamed through. When I finally arrived at the bank, my hands trembled from nervousness as I got out my passbook. There I was confronted with a reality I wished I could avoid. Just as I suspected, it's from this account. Mike and I had opened a joint account to manage our finances after our marriage. The joint account was the destination for both of our salaries. From that account, we paid for our living expenses and saved the rest. We saved for our future, for our children's education, and for purchasing our own home. This joint account was also the one charged for Mike's frequent purchases of high-end items like designer bags on his credit card. This alone was enough to fuel my anger, but an even more shocking revelation awaited. Even though he's supposed to be working overtime, Mike's salary hasn't increased. Why? His company was known for being employee-friendly, meaning his salary should have increased with overtime hours. Yet despite claims of working overtime, his salary didn't change at all. At that moment, all the mysteries were unwrapped, revealing a startling truth. His late returns coming back home were merely because he was having an affair with Abby's mother. It was clear from not getting any overtime pay that Mike had been working the extra hours he claimed. While I, who's pregnant and unwell, was going through such tough times, Mike didn't offer any support and instead engaged in an affair, which left me deeply disappointed. One evening, while Mike was in the bath, I determinedly took his smartphone. Trying not to alert Mike, my hands trembled with tension as I entered the passcode on the phone's lock screen. And just like that, the phone unlocked. Perhaps Mike had let his guard down, thinking my severe morning sickness had made me less vigilant. The realization that he'd underestimated me so much also fueled my growing anger. But as I kept my cool, I checked the contents of the smartphone. In the chat app, there were clear exchanges between Mike and Abby's mother that confirmed their affair.
I told my wife I have overtime, so we can meet tonight.
Really? Can we meet tonight? I can't wait to see you.
The chat exchanges between Mike and Abby's mother were embarrassingly full of heart emojis. If I still had strong affection for my husband, witnessing such betrayal would have surely driven me to madness. But now that I no longer have any feelings of love for him, I was able to focus calmly on gathering evidence. When I looked at their recent text messages, I found out they were planning to go on a trip. The trip was scheduled for a week starting from the weekend with the intention of enjoying various hikes. Of course, my husband didn't inform me about this trip. I was curious to hear what excuse he'd give on the day of the trip, so I waited patiently. Finally, the morning of the trip day arrived. Despite it being a holiday, my husband was very busy with the preparations from the trip from early in the morning. Good morning. What's got you so busy this early? Caught off guard, my husband looked rather surprised.
Oh, well, you see, what are you doing up so early?
I woke up hearing some noise. What's with the suitcase? Are you going on a trip?
I have a company trip for a week starting today. I thought I told you. Just wait. I'll buy you a nice souvenir.
Did you? Maybe I just forgot. My bad. Seemingly having heard the commotion, Kate woke up too. Kate too seemed curious about today, and with a slightly dazed expression, she spoke to her father.
Dad, what's happening? Are you leaving?
He's going on a company trip. He'll bring back a souvenir, so let's look forward to it.
Got it. Can't wait for the souvenir. Take care.
With our smiles, my husband left the house with a wry smile. After my blatantly lying husband left, we looked at each other and burst into laughter.
Dad's voice was shaking when he lied.
With that, anyone could tell he was lying. After sharing a good laugh, we began discussing our next steps. Kate, I'm about to discuss something important. Listen carefully. I'm thinking of getting a divorce. I believe it's crucial for you too, so I'd like to hear your thoughts. Kate, being only 9, said,
I think it's better for you to get a divorce. I'm embarrassed and don't like having a father who cheats on Mom. I'm sure Abby would feel the same.
Did something happen with Abby too? Throughout our discussion, Kate seemed concerned about Abby's situation.
Abby's mom used to just relax at home and never did anything, but she suddenly disappeared, so Abby was really upset.
Just as my husband betrayed our trust, it seems that Abby's mother also betrayed her daughter's trust. Upon hearing this fact, I felt strongly that there should be no compromise when it comes to taking revenge on them. Abby seems to be going through a lot too. We need to punish both of them. I felt a surge of motivation that I could never have imagined before. With determination, I took action. First, To stop my husband from spending any money, I canceled our credit card. I decided it was necessary to fairly divide the savings in our joint account, so I transferred half of it to my account. To avoid disputes over property division in the divorce, I decided to secure my assets early on. Kate and I started packing up our belongings. I had already explained the situation to my parents, so we decided to move back to my parents' home. Kate, let me confirm once more. Once we divorce, we can't come back to this house. Are you really okay with that?
Yes, I'm okay.
Then let's go to Grandpa and Grandma's house.
Yes, let's go quickly.
Kate seemed to be filled with anticipation. She seemed neither sad about our divorce nor mournful, but rather had a cheerful look, which put my mind at ease for the moment. We completed the move to my parents' house in high spirits. I decided to let go of the house filled with memories of our time with my husband and start a new chapter in my life. This decision came after discovering a message exchange between my husband and Abby's mother.
I want to be freed from that house as soon as possible. I want a divorce right away and live with you.
From the messages, it appeared that Abby's mother had already moved back to her parents' home. To think she would abandon her family, including her young daughter, for an affair and selfishly move back to her parents' house? Hit unbelievable. I found out that my husband had visited Abby's mother's parents' house from the history on his car navigation system. I packed up my husband's belongings and sent them to that address. I sent his belongings to his mistress, Abby's mother, and subsequently terminated our house. This way, my husband would be able to live freely with Abby's mother. Since my husband insisted he was on a company trip, I sent his valuables along with a letter to his company. Having emptied the house, the weight on my heart lifted, and I felt refreshed and ready to take a new step forward. The next morning, I received an early call from my husband.
Molly, I'm sorry. I seem to be running out of money. It looks like I forgot some cash at home.
Oh dear, that's a bummer.
I'm really in a bind. Can you transfer some money to my account, even if it's just a little?
Actually, things are a bit tight for me this month. Since you're on a company trip, maybe you can borrow from a colleague?
Well, about that.
Just explain your situation and borrow from your colleagues. I'm having severe morning sickness right now and it's hard for me to talk. I'm hanging up.
Wait, hold on.
I felt a bit better knowing that my husband couldn't use his credit card anymore. It's easy to imagine that this made the pleasant trip with his mistress very tense for him. The phone calls from my husband didn't stop. I sent him a message saying, "I have severe morning sickness and can't answer the phone. Don't call me anymore." No matter how many times he called, I didn't answer. 3 days later, I received another call from him and reluctantly picked up.
Molly, why is the house empty? What's going on?
Weren't you supposed to be on a trip for 7 days? Why are you back so soon? My husband was initially at a loss for words, but his anger quickly erupted.
Everything's gone. Even the contract has been terminated. Isn't that too selfish?
Who's being selfish now? You were on a trip with your mistress, right? I've sent all our stuff to Abby's parents' house and started the divorce proceedings. Everything's going according to your wishes. Goodbye and good luck.
What? You found out about the affair? And you're divorcing me?
Realizing that I knew about his affair and even who the other woman was, he was visibly shaken. I hung up and deleted all his contacts from my phone. With nowhere to go, my husband seemingly took refuge at Abby's parents' house. At their house, Abby's mother was kneeling with her head down, and across from her sat her parents, her husband, and Abby, all of them looking furious. Apparently, Abby's mother had returned home, claiming she couldn't bear the emotional abuse from her husband. Her parents believed her and felt sorry for her, but the reality was different. Since they found out she had been lying and was even having an affair, there's no way they would forgive her. Abby's mother and my husband were both severely reprimanded, made to sign divorce papers in front of everyone, and forced to pay for compensation. Afterwards, her parents kicked them both out. Since returning to my parents' home, Kate and I have been living freely. My worries disappeared. My morning sickness subsided, allowing me to return to work after my maternity leave was finished. Every day, Kate seems to enjoy playing with her grandparents after returning from school. The divorce proceedings went smoothly thanks to the support of my lawyer. Of course, I had ample evidence, which allowed the divorce to proceed in my favor. In order to secure my ex-husband's income, I demanded both compensation and child support payments and sent a letter to his company asking them not to let him resign. His boss, who is a married man with children, saw the letter and was furious. He negotiated with the company to deduct compensation and child support payments from my ex-husband's salary. With this boss always keeping a close eye on my ex-husband's actions, even if he faced any challenges at work, it seems unlikely he will be able to quit his job that easily. My ex-husband is financially struggling because he spent too much money on his mistress's lavish lifestyle. On top of that, having lost his home, he is forced to live in a cheap company dorm, making it hard for him to quit his job easily. And Abby and her father have now found peace. Abby has accepted her parents' divorce and seems to smile more compared to before. She told Kate that she genuinely enjoys living with her father. Knowing that Abby is living a happy life brought genuine relief to my heart. Soon after, I gave birth to a lovely baby boy. The fact that my ex-husband can't hold my beloved son in his arms shows how stupid he was. When Kate saw her adorable brother, she cheered in delight. I looked at both my beloved daughter and son's faces and vowed in my heart to raise both of them